Hi, I'm Cindi McGee, and you're watching Polymer Clay TV. Today's Pattern to Polymer project is inspired by this sunny floral fabric that I found on Spoonflower. I started with a sheet of Primo Sculpey white, which I've conditioned and rolled to a setting 3 on my Atlas machine. I'm using some neutral gray pan pastel, and I'm going to cover the whole surface with a thin layer of the pan pastel. Then I'm using a piece of an emery board to gently scratch away or sand away some areas of it and give it a distressed effect. You can use a piece of sandpaper and it'll do basically the same thing. Just very gently drag it in one direction and then drag it in the opposite direction to create sort of a cross-hatched, aged effect. I'm using the botanical silkscreen from createalong.com to screen the image. Place it colored side down against the clay sheet. I like to roll it a bit just to make sure it'll stay in place. And I'm using some white DecoArt Americana multi-surface satin to silkscreen this image. Gently lift it away and wash your silkscreen right away and let the paint dry on the clay. To create the illusion of an outline effect, I'm using the same silkscreen and I'm going to offset it a little bit. It can be a bit tricky, but you can see through the silkscreen and be sure that it's lining up. And when you get it realigned, just shift it one direction or the other, just a smidge. And this time I'm silkscreening with some bright yellow paint. Once that was dry, it's time to come back with a rubber stamp. I'm using a floral rubber stamp. You can use any one that you choose. And I'm going to sponge on some of that white paint and then stamp it here and there over the surface. It's not going to be a real bold effect, but it'll give you the basic overall effect that I'm looking for. Once the white flowers are dry, come back with that bright yellow paint and do the same thing. Just very lightly offset them from the white flowers and stamp over them with the yellow. At this point, I decided I wanted my flowers to be a little more defined, so I'm coming back with a fine paintbrush and more of that yellow paint and just giving the petals a little thicker layer of paint to define them a bit further. And then I'm using a fine dotting tool and the white acrylic paint to make the centers of the flowers. Once all the paint was dry, I came back with an assortment of my cutters from Create Along and cut out the components for the earrings that I want to make. Then I baked all of the elements according to the manufacturer's instructions and let them cool. Here are some of the earrings after baking. I used silver jewelry components and some crystal beads as accents. You can see that yellow paint did fade and or change color a bit after baking. You may want to test your acrylics before baking them. In this case, I'm still pleased with the finished result, but if you wanted a brighter, bolder color, it may have been a disappointment for you. So I would suggest testing your acrylics on a piece of scrap clay first if keeping that bright, vibrant tone is important to you. For more inspiration, join our Polymer Clay Tribe Facebook page. Over 18,000 members sharing projects every day. For lots more creative polymer clay ideas, visit the Polymer Clay TV blog.